welcome to another Keel Hauled podcast. I'm your host, Captain Logan, and we've got a lot of Sea of Thieves news to cover today, so tie yourselves to the mast and hold fast. Ahoy there, pirates. I hope you had yourselves a good week and a good weekend. I know I did. This week I have a guest that reached out to me, a fellow friend of a friend, and wanted to see if they could jump onto the Sea of Thieves best podcast to talk about some of the most contentious, some of the most highly debated topics in the game as we've seen it. There's going to be a little bit of news beforehand, but this is a big episode, so sit down, relax, and let's get into it. Ahoy there, pirates. I hope you're all doing really good this weekend. I did want to just kind of touch on some things before I get into the interview. It does look like we will be getting some sort of holiday Halloween event. The problem is we still don't know what that is going to entail. Just recently on the Twitter account, and I believe Instagram, Sea of Thieves tweeted out a photo of the campfire, or not the campfire, the fireplace in the tavern. And around it, they have a bunch of different gourds and pumpkins, things like that. And they had some regular music that kind of went along with it. So while we may not have gotten any kind of Sea of Thieves news video this week, I'm hoping that that's something that's going to drop this week. Unfortunately, we're still kind of in the dark as to what kind of event is going to be coming this holiday season. The last bit of news that I did want to touch on real quick as we go into the interview is the news. Xbox Wire wrote an article recently giving us 30 games fully optimized for the Series X and S on launch. This was brought to us by Will Tuttle, and he wrote in to talk to us about how some of the games that we can expect are going to play best and look best on the Xbox Series X. And then they gave us a list of optimized titles. Now, many of these are some of the games that are going to be coming out day one. Some of these are backwards compatible games. And one of the questions that has been consistently tossed around the Sea of Thieves community is how come Sea of Thieves hasn't been confirmed for optimization for the Xbox Series X and S. Now, many of us on PC are familiar with some of the features that come with PC as far as like an FOV slider, higher frame rate, better view distance, higher textures, things like that. And we're kind of wondering how the console experience will be. Will we get faster load times? Will we get better view distance? Are we going to get ray tracing? Many of these things are coming with the console in the Series X and S, but we don't necessarily know what type of those, which of those features are going to be applied to Sea of Thieves. So as of right now, Sea of Thieves is on sale through Microsoft for $20, and it is smart delivery enabled. So regardless of which version you buy, whether it be a Series X or S, or the Windows or actual Series Xbox One games, those will all transfer to whatever hardware you're playing on. We're looking forward to hopefully hearing more about Sea of Thieves from Rare. Hopefully they'll decide to take some time to put together a video if they have an opportunity to touch on some of the improvements that are expected with this next gen version. All right, pirates. So this was an interview that I did with Caleb. We had a really good time talking about just about everything that was on our minds. He brought in some really good discussion and some perspectives as we kind of dive into some stuff. So if you guys find yourself disagreeing with what we say, that's probably a good thing. It means you have a strong opinion. I'm curious to know what your opinions are. And I don't want you all to feel like we are attacking anyone, because we're not trying to attack anyone. We're trying to bring up a dialogue so that perhaps opinions and thoughts can be shared in a safe space without anyone feeling like they're getting attacked. Now, I personally thought that a lot of the conversation that we had, we tended to agree on things with slight differences here and there, and maybe some ideas that might help out Sea of Thieves in the future. So I just hope that you guys take this in stride and not a personal attack, because that's not what the intention was. We weren't trying to set out to try and upset anyone with our conversation. We just wanted to try and present some options out there that maybe you hadn't considered. So go into this interview with that in mind and enjoy the conversation. So we pretty much we did a little bit of conversation beforehand, but I guess that's most podcasts, trying to get things started. making sure everything was working and whatnot. But Caleb, thanks for coming on to the podcast. You wanted to reach out for a couple topics, but I guess before then, I did want to get to kind of what got you into Sea of Thieves, because you do your own podcasts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for those listening, what shows are you currently working on right now?
Well, it's really kind of you to put my plug in here at the beginning before anyone knows me. So I can really introduce myself here as a shill, guys. Hey, guys, you should listen to my stuff. By the way, have I mentioned my Patreon? You were very kind in saying, hey, you wanted to talk. You didn't so much invite me as I committed the cardinal sin of inviting myself onto another person's podcast. And you so generously and maybe foolishly accepted. But it's very kind of you having me on. Thank you so much.
No.
Respect you, and I think you have a great show on here. It's an honor and privilege to be on.
Thank you.
But I do some role-playing shows. I have a show called Trailblazer Academy, where we teach people lessons related around tabletop role-playing games, everything from GMing to playing. We focus on Pathfinder 1st and 2nd edition, but there's lots of episodes that are system agnostic. If you want to jump in, I'd listen to the comedy episodes. One of my favorite episodes we've done. And the other show we do is called Trailblazers. It's an actual play blended with an audio drama. For that one, I would start with season 2. If you start with season 1, you'll be like, oh, this is the first thing he ever made. I can tell by the way there's static in everything he's ever said.
So kind of going from that D&D background, I guess my first instinct is to ask you, have you played through the Sea of Thieves RPG at all?
No. As a completionist, I want to buy it just for the sales, just so it sits in my chest, because I'll never use them.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I first entered this game, I was like, oh, I'm going to role play with my friends and we'll sail the seas and we'll talk like pirates and we'll be the crew of the Black Flag. And yeah, well, I just ended up, I didn't get enough friends that wanted to play the game. And there were so many things to unlock. My completionist drive kind of activated. And well, there's a lot of things in the Sea of Thieves to take up your time if you want to get everything. So it's a grindy game, so I just got caught in it, and I'm stuck in it now. I can't get out.
Well, you're not wrong in that aspect. I was of that completionist mentality very, very early on. I think it wasn't until probably this year that I finally kind of sat back and was like, there's a lot. and a lot of this stuff is going to take a lot of time. They really pushed a lot of the requirements for stuff to kind of last beyond the initial month. And you know, true to form, when they originally had big content drops, you know, that would be the content drop and you would just work on that. So you tried to get everything done prior to the end of the event, because a lot of it was time limited. But now that those cosmetics aren't in that situation, it feels a lot more relaxed, but a lot more grindy at the same time.
I never thought about it that way, but you're so right. Part of like I got to get the sales before the next update is because they really grinded it into us of, yeah, after this, it might not be available, or after this, it's going to be really hard. Like, can you find a chest of rage right now? Maybe.
No.
Maybe. If you get the 1 fort out of the 15 forts you could possibly have. If you wanted those combinations, you had to do it then. Or goodness forbid, if you want to get those, not bone dust crates, what are they called? Rag and bone crates. You want those commendations. But then sometimes it's easier. Boy, in my crime, I feel bad for anyone who tried to get all those Athena Villainous skulls from the Thieves Haven run, when now with the grade 5 emissary, it's way easier. See, you never know. But they did really grind it into you. Get it now. And now they're kind of releasing stuff that's like, you know, hey, you can earn this over your playtime, which is sort of like the way I feel you're meant to do it. Like, hey, turn in 500 chests as a pirate legend and you can get, you know, the special compass. And I'm like, oh yeah, you could really earn that over, you know, just normal gameplay. But I'm really going to grind it out in the next sort of week and make it really remove all the fun from it.
Yeah. And that kind of dives into one of the topics that we'll jump into later on. So folks listening, remember this conversation, because we're gonna dive heavy into the reasoning behind some of the issues that we're coming up with in Sea of Thieves. But with Sea of Thieves, the idea behind it is so interesting, and it's such a strange Prospect. Compared to other games that you've played, how do you like the idea of horizontal progression as well as session-based gaming, as opposed to having like a persistent ship with supplies that are always there and knowing exactly what you're getting when you jump into it because of what you left off with and on like a prior session? Like, does that kind of mess with you? Because I know a lot of folks coming into Sea of Thieves kind of butt heads against some of the I guess not normal aspects of a game that most people would generally expect and don't find. So kind of touching first on the horizontal progression, did that bug you at all when you jumped in?
Well, there's a certain thing that happens when you play a game like, say, Halo or any shooter. When you play a multiplayer match, that's like it's a 10-15 minute match. Maybe in some of the edgier cases, it's 30-minute match, and it's very fun to get a kill, and it's not so fun to get killed. But the respawn's quick. You're back in the action. You can keep engaging in the fun thing. In Sea of Thieves, doing 3 hours and losing everything to somebody sinking you feels really, really bad. You don't get that quick, oh no, it was a 10-minute game, everything's over, or I keep getting that kill and then getting killed sort of back and forth very quickly. 3 hours, it feels real bad. But boy, does it feel really, really, really good to steal someone else's stuff. Oh man, they must have worked on that for so long. They must feel so bad. And you start feeling a little bit bad for being a pirate. That's such a huge difference. I would call it, in my opinion, maybe the biggest part about this game that I dislike is how long. What I just said, I tend to repeat myself. You'll have to forgive me. I'll make a point and then repeat it because I'm a foolish man. Oh yeah, and the other thing is that there's no matchmaking. So when you sink somebody and then you go on aboard their boat and they have a seafarer's chest, and you're like, oh, they're in default clothing. They just started. This was not fun for them, and I had no fun sinking somebody who was brand new to the game. I feel so bad. Did I just drive this person out of the game? That feels bad too. Not that I'm saying, hey, Rare, have matchmaking. I understand it's a big deal. I had the same thing with, if you ever played a game called Hearthstone, it's an online card game, and I would play just fun decks that were outrageous, and at 1 out of 32 games you could get your combo off just because it was a fun dumb deck I made. But because I would keep losing, I'd eventually see somebody, oh, they just played a default card that nobody plays anymore because there's a million cards better than that. I'm like, oh, this kid's about to get dunked on because I got my combo. He's going to have no clue what's happening because I got sent so far back down the ladder, and you feel bad for it. No one feels good about, well, hopefully no one feels good about sinking these brand new players. And
there's people. There's someone out there that gets a kick out of it. Fresh blood is always fun to find on the seas, but most of the time, a lot of us want to have people kind of come to the game and stay in the game for a while so they can get better. But I totally know how you feel.
Depending on on their age and how you can deal with playing with people of younger age, it's actually usually a lot of fun to start helping them through something. Or I remember when I first started playing, if somebody dropped down an Athena's Voyage for me, that was made my day. I'm like, oh, I got an Athena's Voyage. This is great.
Remember those days. It's funny because now there's so much to do in the world that isn't driven by quests that allure of an Athena voyage is dropped off significantly. Because usually when you had an Athena, that was your night. You grabbed an Athena and you had a little bit of everything, and you would go and you'd work on each section of it and stack it all until you got done. But now it's too hard almost. There's too many things in the world to distract you or call your attention to it, because the prospect of there being another ship with a bunch of treasure, or there being a bunch of stuff coming off of Shrouded Ghost, or who knows what,
or we have to stop the boat every 5 seconds because there's treasure floating with the barrels. Unless I'm playing with new people and they're excited to get every shiny thing, I'm like, guys, we need to focus. If we don't focus on the task at hand, there's a million things to divert us, and we'll never get this done. And I only have 12 hours in my day. I can't keep doing this. I remember when I was really grinding hard and it wasn't even grinding at that point. For me, it was just playing the game. When I was leveling up, the two things I did was forts was a great way to level up. And the other thing was the Ashen Athena voyages that people will put down for me, or eventually you get Pirate Legend and you put them down yourself, and you're just grinding to get that Athena's 10 back when it was 10, and that was the first time I had ever discovered Alliance servers. And I remember there was a point where it was what I think was maybe the first ever double XP weekend, but it was certainly the first double XP and gold weekend I had ever been a part of. Was also the weekend I got invited to this Alliance server. So it was just what a windfall for me to be able to get double XP, double gold on an Alliance, and I got my Athena 10. That was probably some of the most fun I had in this game was that time.
Congrats. That's awesome. I know that feeling. So did you want to dive into Alliance servers then? Because I know of the topics that you wanted to bring up, some of a lot of the players, I want to say, in Sea of Thieves have very specific ideas about how the game should be played, regardless of the actual intent behind what the developers actually had. And it tends to come up fairly frequently. I would say there's usually a 3-month cycle of people being like, Alliance servers, or PvP, or PvE, or hit reg. There's a lot of reasons why people tend to want to bring up these topics. So starting off, I guess, with Alliance servers, this was one of the things you wanted to talk about. So what are kind of your thoughts on it, and what drove you to want to pick it as a topic?
Sure. Well, you said something incredibly important there, which was intent. I always hear intent brought up in any conversation that is hotly debated, and it's a weird thing because there's things that the game's embraced that weren't intended. Sword dashing, we all love sword dashing. I feel it's near universal acclaim. It was not intended, but it was ended up being great fun, so they left it in. Other exploits like running with chests and things like this, and so that stuff always comes up when they patch or remove something, like, oh, there's no more shooting through the walls of your boat. Hey, but isn't that like sword dashing? Why are you removing it? What was but it's not the way we intended it to be played. That was a big thing when Revive came out. That's the way we've always intended. It was part of like the alpha build. How important is intention? It's such murky waters. So when you get down, so I kind of even don't really worry too much about coming from the argument of what was intended when I look at these hotly debated topics. For like Alliance servers, it certainly wasn't intended for people to take over a server on the reg. Certainly, it's great events I've naturally had where, before I even discovered Alliance servers were a thing, where we got the whole server or close to the whole server as allies, and we had that cash windfall, and just naturally, I'm sure that was what was intended, that natural teaming up, and it happens once in a while, feels great. It's amazing. But when you hear people talk about Alliance servers, a lot of the times what I hear, and you can tell me if you hear the same thing, is I hear a worry about splitting the player base. You ever worry about that? Like, oh, now no one's going to be left in adventure except people looking for PvP because everyone else is, why do adventure when you can be safe in an alliance?
For me, no. I've never worried about it because I definitely know that because of the Azure system that Microsoft is using and Sea of Thieves is kind of implemented, the server merges will happen. It's not always the best situation. It's not always the right answer to what the pirate fantasy would be, but because of that situation, I know that there's always an opportunity where at one point the crew that I play with is probably going to run off most of the ships, or they're going to log out because of what time it is, or they're going to finish up and change servers, or a multitude of reasons why they aren't on our server anymore. So because of that, we tend to run a lot of server merges, and it happens. Some nights are worse than others, but the fact that even happens, the fact that that's a possibility, just kind of buffers any hesitance towards the idea of fracturing off or fracturing the community into different groups. If I had my druthers, I would probably delete Arena, but that's my personal preference.
That's so funny you say that.
Well, go ahead.
That I really had that same opinion because I've seen other games some Call of Duty games would have DLC maps that you had to buy, and so it would split the player base, which eventually meant, in the end, those maps would be ghost towns later on in the life of the game. Not that Call of Duty games are intended often to have a huge lifespan. So when I first heard about Arena, I'm like, oh, so we're going to split the player base. Great. I can't wait to have no one in Arena anymore or no one in Adventure anymore. But I don't really think that's happened. I don't feel like my servers are full, especially because the way Sea of Thieves has the six ship limit, and then they can just merge you. Long as there is like 12 people playing the Sea of Thieves, you're going to end up getting, I should say 12 crews. They can merge you together and consolidate. And there's a lot more than that playing. So it's actually kind of like a non-issue in Adventure. I didn't consider that. But what I don't think Arena did that thing that everyone was fearing, where it was going to split the player base. So I'm a little curious that people still think that if we have Alliance servers built into the game, like right next to Adventure, next to Arena, it says Alliance server, that it will then empty out Adventure mode. That didn't happen with Arena. I don't imagine it happened with Adventure mode. I think you'll still have PvPers in excuse me, let me rephrase that. I still have times where I want to play an Alliance server and times where I want to play an Adventure. Sometimes I like the idea of going to a fort and then having to look out for other ships, or trying to steal a fort from somebody, or whatever world event's going on. And sometimes you feel like, today I just want to work on this commendation and I really don't need it stolen from me. I don't even care about the money reward. I just need to turn in the 50 skulls to get the new sale or whatever. And I do the Alliance server. There's a million reasons why you do everyone. But I find myself, and I understand this is a completely anecdotal piece of evidence, but I find myself, I want to do both, and I do both. So I don't really see a lot of validity to the worry that it's going to split the player base and then just Adventure mode is going to be a ghost town. Because people, if you are worried about the people who are really focused on PvE leaving Adventure mode to go to an Alliance server, then people like you who still want PvP will still be in Adventure mode. So the real thing you're really just losing out on is that easy prey. And I'm not crying for you about that.
You bring up some interesting concepts. So just to make sure that myself and anyone listening has a clear understanding of the proposal you're suggesting, is an Alliance server would effectively be a server that, of course, someone has a car alarm going off outside while I'm recording. So the idea
We
of
were recording our Gunslinger episode, and literally there was gunshots outside my apartment for that episode. So
oh my gosh.
interruptions all the time. I feel you.
Could you not try and murder other people while we're talking about murdering people on our podcast? It's
Yeah.
very inconsiderate.
Well, all that means is that somebody's going to come here and steal something from me while we're recording.
Oh God, please no.
I have nothing to steal. Go ahead. We can steal my cat.
So the idea of an Alliance server that you're speaking to, I guess I'm curious to dive into a little bit of the specifics on that. Are these servers that would be purely PvE in the sense that you wouldn't be able to attack other players, and there would be like no friendly fire, or friendly fire would be kind of off for everyone?
Yeah, you've pointed out a great mistake I made, which is I didn't define terms at all. Anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about is completely lost. Yes, an Alliance server is a server that people run where there is no PvP, and you can work together, do different things. Oh, today will be a Meg fleet where everyone hunts down megalodons or whatever, but generally do whatever you want, and no one's going to fight each other. We have all 6 ships on the server, so there can't be a server merge. One thing that, and as you can see, I bet I lean towards, I think Alliance servers are fine. But to really give I think what is a strong point to people who would be anti-Alliance servers is those servers right now are run by community members who set rules, and they will like ban you or something, or discipline you in some way if you break those rules. But to have like in-game mechanics that enforce a PvE server, that's a whole different ball game. How are you going to implement that? How are you going to stop people from shooting each other? Yeah, sir. Oh, there's no friendly fire. Can I still shoot a cannon at this guy, or crash my ship into him? Are you going to make it so that doesn't do it? There's a lot of like nitty gritty details that Rare would have to dive into and make like exceptions for and really figure out to really implement that kind of a thing. It's not as easy as people might think.
So one of the main, and this is a tough thing for me to do because I want to make sure that I try and represent the opposition in this
Sure.
situation. But to be perfectly honest, I'm fine with PVE servers. I'm fine with PvP
Mhm.
servers. I'm fine with a mix of both because I think that there's room for everyone, and reasons for each. I definitely appreciate all aspects of what people
Mhm.
want, regardless of my personal opinions. um the one main thing that I constantly come back to when I'm having these discussions with Discord members or people online is the value behind the content that people earn in adventure mode. They
Mhm.
worked hard to try and get X number of things done in the game, and
Mhm.
all the while they had to do that while watching their back. They always had
Yeah.
to keep it one eye on what they were doing and one eye on the
Mhm.
horizon. And they feel like their commendations and cosmetics, their triumphs are diminished because of alliance servers or PvE servers where people don't have that half of the game where there is a constant desire to attack other ships as a factor. And how do you try and convince, because that's what you'd have to do. You would have to convince people that play an adventure that their content, that their triumphs, their cosmetics still retain the value that they earned when they did the content compared to alliance servers.
Mhm.
How do you tackle that front? Like, do you change the cosmetics? Do you change the requirements of the cosmetics? Do you change
Mhm.
the accommodations that you have for those?
Right.
Like, how do you try and convince people that had to lose their 3 hours
Right.
of loot to someone because of a bad situation, that theirs has as
Mhm.
much value as someone
Right.
else who didn't have to worry about getting sunk?
Yeah. The reality is right now is that alliance servers exist and people will have the legendary thief commendation for trading chests. And even though you got it legitimately and they look the same. And the truth is there are no Sea of Thieves pirate police that open up. Let me see your commendation. How did you earn that? And
Yeah.
do you do that? Do you go, wait a second, but how did you get that title, sir? Sir, how did you get that title? It just doesn't happen. Is it devalued? Who knows? Because no one knows how you got it. And
Mhm.
I have you have you really seen Rare really values titles because boys, there are sure a lot of titles rewards in the game. And I myself, I talk about how much I'm a completionist. I try to get items, all equipable items. I'm not trying to get every single combination, and I'm not trying to get every title because I can only have one title at a time, and I don't need this whole bevy of them. So, does it really matter that we both have the same size chest full of titles? And both of us can only display one anyway, and you display rat catcher or something. Does it really matter all that much? I don't know. But are you really concerned? I say you, I'm the general you. Guys, hey, I know you're thinking, hey, Caleb, are you sure having a lot of fun knocking down all those strong men, huh, that you're propping up? Listen, it's just me and Logan. May I call you Logan?
Yeah.
Or do I have to call you Captain?
No,
Uh,
Logan's fine.
we're not actually here arguing with a bunch of people. So if you're stumbling around a field, eventually you're going to kick straw. You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
we're you're earning this, and the difference between me, I'm going to use myself as an example, me on the Alliance server and you on a regular server, having to earn this is honestly it's a lot of time because the different I get sunk, I can still try again, and maybe I had to try 3 times. I'm sorry, in this illustration, you had to try 3 times to get the same thing that I only had to try once. In the end, it was just amount of time. And when you think about it, how many times have you played? How many times have you played? You've had lots of sessions. We all have where you just didn't run into anybody, or you did, and you guys didn't attack each other. You just avoided each other. How much? Plenty of times. It's just up to RNG and how people are feeling that you happen to run across. Plenty of times we both earned that the same way, even though I was on the Alliance server and you were on the regular server. I think it's a really, really weird way to go to be like, if you're on the Alliance server, say Rare implemented Alliance server, that the cosmetics that you earn would look different. Because the truth is, Rare is going to implement a private servers, and they're not going to have any commendation progress, no gold progress. They've heard the community loud and clear, and a lot of the community saying, or I should say, a lot of vocal people in the community, forum posters, are saying, we don't want this for all the reasons that you and I both brought up now. So don't put it in the game and say, all right, we'll have private servers, but their intention now is mostly going to be for people running special events. So the truth is that the side that you're representing has won. That's, at least for now. Rare agrees with you. And I may disagree, but Rare's on your side. But what's the big worry? That I'm going to get gold easier than you? I mean, you having to fight for your gold made your 10 million gold and 10K doubloons any easier spent than mine? I mean, neither of us have anything to spend it on. Am I right, guys?
That'll be a different topic we're getting to. So can I interject real quick? Because I have a
no. This is my podcast, guys. Welcome to Captain Caleb's show. This is my special guest, Captain Logan. Look, I understand you've been doing a Sea of Thieves podcast for a while.
Not anymore. I went ahead and passed it off to a wonderful gentleman named Caleb. I'm going to head over and start building a Destiny 2 podcast. I think there's a lot of ground in that community
my condolences. Bad decision.
That game might go somewhere. No, so
I think you should really focus towards Anthem. Insider tip, I think that's where all the money's gonna be made.
Funny enough, I just got a great deal on Anthem. I'm starting up my Storm Javelin now, and it's going great. I can't wait for the Xbox Series X when it'll delete all of the load times for that game. And who knows, the HDR might hide some of the really bad animation. But that's I was thinking about maybe doing something on that later on.
Listen, it'll be just as popular as Marvel Ultimate Alliance. Am I right, guys? Another joke about games.
Yep.
That silence, literally, I need you to leave that in. I don't know what kind of editing you're going to do, but that silence does need to be in. Because that is about as real as it gets to my comedy.
No, I like it. It's good stuff. But
I'm glad you let me do the ads at the beginning, because the rest of this will be just me convincing people not to listen to my podcast. We're like, his humor is not great. I will not be clicking on that link.
No, it's dry. I appreciate it. So I wanted to I'm trying to hold on to my brain thoughts here. So two things that I wanted to address. The first one was the discussion around Alliance servers and how Rare has sided with the people that prefer to have a mix of PvP and PvE. I agree with that sentiment, but I also see the need for PvE servers for different situations, and not necessarily for what just kind of a more relaxed styles. I actually see PvE servers as an accessibility option, not as a kind of laid back scenario. So for me, people that don't have full access to play the normal adventure mode, PvE servers would alleviate that stress, and also be a testing bed for new features. The thing that I wanted to bring up is a posit. I just wanted to throw this out for you and for everyone else that's listening to think about. If originally when the game launched, barrel system, the 2.0 system that we have currently, was intended to be in the game from the get-go. I know this personally. It wasn't ready at the time, and they were working on it up until the point where they actually released it. Now, when they released it, there was a lot of controversy about how it was going to slow down the game, how it was going to affect PvP, and how it was going to make the game dead, DED. And it didn't. And in fact, a lot of people appreciate it, and it's opened up a huge amount of options as far as storage crates, as far as carrying different items, bait, cannonballs, curse cannonballs, chain shots, fire bombs. All of those things would not be possible with the original barrel system. And anyone that thinks that the new system is the way that, way it's always been, it wasn't. So to kind of
Do I
lean back
recall
to,
correctly that barrels used to not say empty when they were empty? I feel like that used to be a thing.
I don't know. They did say empty, but you would just pull them directly from the barrel. So you just had
Right.
to mash the button to drag it until it said empty.
Mhm.
Um, so, but to kind of take that action, or take that premise of how we have a barrel system that is different from what was launched with, but how that has improved the game since. If alliance servers were put in the game from the get-go, say those were ready to start, and you had arena
Mhm.
and you had adventure and you had alliance, then I would question if people wouldn't swap between the three naturally,
Mm.
organically as they play throughout the years, and this would be a non-issue. Because I feel like a lot of people are in that situation where they butted up against the change of barrels. They're happy with it now. No one's complaining about the barrel system, except unless you get stuck in the UI for some reason. But that's more of a bug than a functionality of the barrels.
A bug at Sea of Thieves. I don't know what you're talking about.
I've never seen one, uh, and I wonder
Just
if
like the Shrouded Ghosts, they don't exist.
it's true. New people are photoshopping so well these days.
They are.
And I wanted to see what your thoughts of that. If Alliance servers had been in from the
Mhm.
start, do you think
Sure.
this would still be an issue?
Of course not. Absolutely not. It's tales all the time. People from game developers to politicians always run into, well, guys, this was the way it's intended. No, you've implemented this for X amount of time. This is what people are used to now. So now you're not, that argument you think means something, but it means nothing. It's about what is in the game now and what people think will happen. I was part of that argument for Revive. Revive wasn't in the game for so long that it's been intended from the beginning. And what if it was there from the beginning? None of us would have cared. None of us would have said anything about it. But oh, it's a new thing. Hey guys, I'm here to tell you, people don't adjust well to new things. I know you've never heard that before, but it's true.
That's news to me. I'm scared now.
But
But
as you should be. But let me commend you. I always hear you championing accessibility options, and I think that's really great. I didn't even think about that. Selfish Caleb over here is like, yes, I want alliance servers because I don't want to fight other people. And you're like, yeah, there's actually other people who have who would want to play on alliance server because of their accessibility limitations, and they don't. It just would be more difficult for them to deal with other pirates and things like that. And I didn't even think about that. I guess it reveals a selfishness on both sides of the argument. But anyone's like, I don't want an alliance server. You don't. Neither of us even thought about that group of people at all. It's a real
it's
good argument for alliance servers.
it's one of those things, and I have to really look at the fact that 2020 has completely changed my perspective on a lot of things in my life that has translated to the game. But um one of the things that I think is it's a hard sell for me when people, and this was the other topic that I wanted to bring up. So in arena, we play for silver. We don't play for gold. We don't play for doubloons. We play to get silver, and whoever has the most silver at the end of the match, uh, they're the winners in the arena match. And once it's done, it's done. It's reset, just like in adventure.
Mhm.
Now that everyone has millions and millions of gold just that they're sitting on that we can't spend anything on, which that's a different topic we'll touch on. Listen
Mhm.
in. Um, it feels less important for me to, like, for example, last night I had a friend who hit me up and he wanted help turning in the treasure that he had been stacking for the last few hours and wanted to know if I was available to help him
Nice
turn it
friend.
in. Yeah, really good friend. I didn't need the gold, and he knows that I didn't need the gold, but he
Mhm.
wanted to get the gold turned in, and he knew it would be done faster if he had help. So he hit me up, and I was free at the time, and he thanked me for helping him turn in the gold. And I told him, I was like, I didn't need this gold. I just hopped on because I wanted to come say hi to you. Like
Mm.
it had. I don't need the gold or the reputation. It's not important to me anymore. I've been
Sure.
pirate legend, even with the increased reputation. I've been taking it slow, so I have merchant left.
Mhm.
With
Good. What you're doing is called actually having fun with the game. Unlike me, it's just like must get 75 tomorrow.
It's a hard lesson learned. I'll be honest. I railed against the concept for a while.
I'm
But
so glad it came in. But please, I'm diverting you. Continue.
so the idea that adventure is the reason why people enjoy it is because they like going out there, they like hunting other players, and they like having value to the things that they're doing. I think what it comes down to is a lot of people have that risk and reward, and the gold doesn't factor. I don't know too many people that really care too much if they lose a haul. They're more upset at being sunk, or they're more elated
Oh no,
at
my
sinking.
supplies.
Yeah. So the question that I have in my mind is, if we're okay with Arena, which is a strictly PvP
Mhm.
mode, being a currency outside of the normal currencies that we're dealing with in Adventure, how do you feel if Alliance servers were of the same ilk? If we went for something outside of gold or doubloons, and we had a session based um, crossover cosmetic scenario where in Alliance servers you could earn, I don't know, pick a currency or a precious metal, what have you,
Stick with
gems.
RPG. We got silver, gold. Let's go with copper.
All right, so Alliance servers earn copper, and we'll ignore the values in real world so that people don't feel like they're getting less. Copper is equal to gold and silver in this scenario. In Alliance servers, if they were to earn copper, copper could then be used to purchase specific cosmetics for people on Alliance servers, but you could still use those in Arena or Adventure. Do you think a system like that would help alleviate some of the frustrations with players who want PvE servers and still feel progression, and adventure players who don't want their content diminished because of the ease of a lack of a PvP issue in Alliance servers?
I have a problem with the core of your proposition. In
Mhm.
Arena, when you earn silver, it's just for the one match, and when you finish, you get gold, depending on what you placed.
Mm.
And you also can unlock commendations, which unlock clothing. And you can also get that up to 50 for the getting Pirate Legend. Everything you actually earn is just stuff that you earn that is used in every mode. The gold, the cosmetics, the accommodations, the 50. I told you I repeat myself. I'm sorry. That's all earned. So if we had like a bronze in the Alliance server that you could spend on cosmetics, it's a completely different beast than what happens in Arena. It'd have to
Fair.
be like session based and accommodations. But if you made it much like Arena, where there's certain cosmetics that you can earn in adventure mode, all that is a incentive to play. I'm sorry, let's say in Alliance servers, all that is an incentive to play the Alliance servers. The incentive to play arenas, there's cosmetics that are locked behind arena accommodations. So the incentive to play the Alliance servers, that there's cosmetics locked behind Alliance servers. I don't think you need incentive. I think that's my problem with the whole premise of this whole argument, is I don't think you really need additional incentives to play any of these modes. I think each mode offers something unique to the others that you can have fun with. So I don't see the need to. I understand compromise is a beautiful part. It's a thing that helps my marriage stay strong. Compromise is wonderful. I don't think this is something that you need to compromise. I think this is one of those things where compromise will sort of destroy the whole thing. Like, for example, what Rare is doing right now with the private servers, I feel like kind of destroys the purpose of. I'm not going to use those private servers ever. I'm going to stick to this Discord I use that sets up the Alliance server so I can still earn accommodations and things like that. And since Rare has sided with here's what private servers are going to look like, the argument is like over from there. But is it though, as Jeff in Control Robinson, the late great, would say? Because guess what, guys? Athena's Vanguard, one of, if not the largest private server for doing these Alliance servers, is a partnered server, or whatever the terminology is. We're the Rare. So Rare has actually also sided with them. They also like, yeah, sure, go ahead. You're not breaking the rules. We're not going to close you down. And we're not even going to just like, we're turning a blind eye. we are going to endorse you. So the truth is, it exists. Rare's okay with it existing, and the only difference between whether or not there's a button on there is the accessibility for people to get into these, and whether or not I have to go through an interview process and apply to play and join this Discord group, or whether or not I can just click a button. It's just easier. All there is. It exists, guys. It's already there.
You bring up a really interesting point that I think a lot of people probably aren't aware of. Many Discord servers just have set requirements. I know mine is about halfway to earning partnership, and I'm not striving to get it to partnership because it doesn't really do much outside of just kind of label my Discord server as
There's a little bit of prestige to it.
Yeah, but I don't know. I value. I know you're kidding, but in all honesty, I value the atmosphere of my community.
Sure.
And the Discord that I have is full of people that I really love.
Mhm.
So having that opened up to a broader audience without kind of that organic discovery that
Bunch of
comes from
randos.
yeah, in one instance, and that's something where I feel like I can the mods that I have and the people that are in there, we can police each other well enough, and all of us have the common understanding
Mhm.
of what grew into the Discord. So we don't have any at mentions for people. We don't have like at everyone and stuff, and we try to keep things as notification light as possible,
Hmm.
and let people just discuss things as they will. And to have it partnered would kind of open that up to randos, which brings in concerns with itself. I would probably have to get a lot more policing going on in the Discord.
Yeah.
The idea that you have of there being a situation where literally you bring to light the fact that Rare just has requirements for Discord servers. They aren't investigating what these alliance server or what these Discord servers are about. And they're willing to promote any Discord server that meets the requirement if it's Sea of Thieves focused. So in this instance, I have to kind of remind people that are listening that Rare wants you to play the game. They don't care how you play the game as
Mhm.
long as you're not being a trash human being. And I think that's what it kind of comes down to.
And they're starting to
So
crack down if you're being a trash human being. Unless I've
hopefully,
really
yes.
overlooked it. I recently saw that report a player is now on their top, one of the drop downs from the top menu of their site.
Oh,
Before I
interesting.
think it was like raise a ticket or something.
Yeah.
They
Yeah, that
and
was
they
like
keep
that.
talking about it. They're really interested in getting rid of people who are going to be calling you the hard F word and sink you and call you trash and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
I'm happy for it, boy. I don't think I've ever in my life reported anyone in a video game. I've blocked some people in StarCraft because in StarCraft people have to message you like you're trash on. You can just block them. You don't have to listen to them anymore.
Mhm.
But I've reported a few people in Sea of Thieves because I can have the Windows G functionality to record the last 30 seconds, and like it sure feels really bad to be called those words. And if Rare's going to make such a push to sort of clean up the seas, then I guess I'll participate.
Yeah. I I really know that as of recent events, Rare has really had to take a good hard look. And I know some of the CM team, and I know they work hard on trying to spend a lot of time on the moderation tools that they have, as well as making sure that the language is clear about what's acceptable and what's not. So I know that this being their first game as a service, they're still learning, and they are still working hard to make sure that that things are safe for people.
But Logan, haven't you heard? It's Sea of Thieves, not Sea of Friends.
That's the rumor, but I don't know how honest that really. No, I really appreciate the fact that they're trying to do this, and
Yeah, definitely.
I wanted to kind of shift focus because I wanted to talk about one of the other topics that you brought on that kind of brings into question the value of an alliance server. So everyone's constantly saying that they want to have value to their stuff. They
Mhm.
bought it when they could, they earned it when they could. Um, what cosmetics have we been getting in the
Oh
game?
boy.
Because to be perfectly honest, everything that I've had to earn, I've had to pull out my wallet to get. Am I
Mhm.
wrong?
Not very. I mean, you can spend your money on the black market. and then you can earn a sale, or if you're lucky, like this update, 2 sales, by doing combinations and then paying a nominal fee. But yeah, if you've already bought everything, the only thing left to buy is with that cash money, y'all, on that good old Emporium. Yeah, it's a topic at large right now in the community. Unless I'm super narrowed in, where are we getting the content and whether or not it's through right now has just been the black market and accommodations versus that Emporium. At first, I didn't really feel it because, I bought everything definitely before the beginning of this year. I don't remember exactly when. And this wonderful, nice pace of an update a month, always something new to do, more stuff to get, felt really great. But after a while, you're like, oh, what's this month? It's just bug fixes. I shouldn't say that one. Actually, that's not in good faith, because that bug fixes is because of the coronavirus, or I'm sorry, you call it, that bug fixes because of the coconut fever. You can't blame them for that, and I really commend them for sticking to this pace that they've stuck to, given this pandemic. I absolutely, everyone should be giving them, and I would give them slack if they were like, we're gonna change. We're not gonna do monthly until we can start working back in a same location. So all the slack to them in the world, and all the praise for the wonderful pace they've been able to keep up. So I shouldn't have said that. But what I mean is every content update, you get just like these little drip feeds, and it don't feel great to not have anything to spend your money on except for your real money. I There is concern over any game that usually goes free to play, which this isn't. Which why is this not? But anyway, because they have that in-game store, and I really was quite pleasantly surprised to hear Rare, when they first talked about the Emporium, saying, "Listen, we're not going to do some of these really scumbag things that even things that are just, hey, it's just cosmetics," which was like something you could say to get an applause at an E3, which you shouldn't anymore. Was like, yeah, okay, that was we're not mobile games are about all it does that, so cool. But there are scummy things you can do with only cosmetic stores that are really pretty darn horrible. So they're saying like, oh, we're not doing loot boxes. Oh, we're not doing limited time stores where you get the FOMO, so you're going to have to buy it today because the store is going to change over tomorrow. They're not doing these things. It's really rather wonderful. If I can do a little jab at them, I think the month after they first introduced the Emporium, it was limited time skeleton pets that are going away this month. Kind of felt like a broken promise to me, but that's the only thing they've done it with. And they said, eventually this is going to get so big that maybe we'll have to rotate stuff out or figure out a way to manage so you don't have 1,000 pages to scroll through. I think we all understand that as well. So they've done that in a really reputable way, in my personal opinion. But there are some things that I saw some people sort of have umbrage with that I'd love to hear what you think about it, because I really am not sure how to feel about it. And that's, they let you earn some of the cosmetics that are coming in the store. It's been ship pieces the 2 times, the Blighted Ship set and the Shrouded Ghost Hunter set. You earn 3 pieces, and then you can buy the rest when it comes out the next update. And there's like a matter of perspective where you look at it and you say like, oh wow, instead of having to buy this, I get some of it for free. And then this perspective of like, oh, they're giving me the first hit for free. So I'm like, well, I gotta complete the set. So I would have spent $0 before, but now I'm gonna spend 40 or whatever the price is to get the rest. Oh look, they've even introduced a bundle that is just the parts of the set that you would need. That's either very convenient from one perspective, or sort of like a disreputable way to sort of still get money out of me from another perspective. What's your perspective on that?
You know, I I definitely think that if I'm going to have to spend money in the Pirate Emporium to get the really cool looking cosmetics, because I think that's the question, is the cosmetics in the Pirate Emporium, if they're going to be earned with real money, if you're going to buy these with actual cash,
Mhm.
they should be extravagant. They should be some of the most elaborate looking stuff. If I'm going to be spending actual money on it, I want to feel like no one else will get to look like this naturally in the game. And the reason for that is just purely based on value. what I perceive to be, worth my money.
Sure.
When they came out with the opportunity to purchase the rest of the Blighted set and the rest of the Shroud Hunter or Shrouded Ghost Hunter set, I was actually happy to see that I wasn't going to have to piecemeal out those portions of the cosmetic set at a higher price compared to the cheaper
Mhm.
bundle.
Yeah.
So if I had to spend money on it, I'm glad that they're at least offering me the bundle of stuff that I will have to get to fill out the rest of that set so it makes sense at a cheaper cost than having to do it one at a time. The bigger concern I think is what you're touching on is should these even be in the Pirate Emporium? Should these not just be in the game for us to earn altogether? And that's where I run into a tough situation. That's where I have to be honest with my spending habits and decide what's worth it, what's not worth it, what's something where I might be able to work with friends to say like, all right, well, I'm going to pick up the Shrouded Ghost Hunter set if you want to pick up the Blighted set, and kind of see like, okay, well, if we want these, can we trade off with friends to see like, do they want to pick it up this week or not? Now, from a completionist perspective, that's not really an option. You want to have all of them. So trying to fork
Hmm.
out $25 each month for a full set of liveries is kind of a pain in the butt for a game that you still had to purchase outright, even at the reduced cost that it is now. So if this game is still one of those games that you have to purchase outright to play, not factoring in Game Pass, I think it's in Rare's best interest to reconsider the content that's getting pushed out to the Emporium.
Hmm.
I think emotes definitely are something that people like to buy, and they like to have a lot of them. And Rare's tried to facilitate the ability to have all of them or a majority of them available to you, so you can access them, so you get value. Unlike the title system, where you can only have one title, it's clear that they value the money that's being spent on the emotes as opposed to earning in-game titles. So it makes me wonder if some of the stuff did come to the game from the Emporium, would it get the support that say like emotes have? Will we ever have a time where we'll be able to have 5 different titles all on a giant long line under our name to distinguish us from other rat catcher, bearer of the Reaper mark, pirate legend sailors? So I don't even know if I answered your question. Sorry.
No, that's fine. When Tell me if you've seen the same thing as what I saw. When the Blighted set came out, I saw most people take the perspective of, "Cool, I got to earn something instead of what otherwise I would have had to buy." And when the most recent Shrouded Ghost Hunter set, I almost exclusively saw the perspective of, "Oh, I have to buy something now that I should have been able to earn." Did you see that same dichotomy?
Personally, I did not. I'm actually
Hmm.
in the mindset, and I know a lot of people are starting to feel the pinch, and I think that's kind of the bigger issue. Is
Oh,
a lot of people are
didn't
starting to
consider that.
realize that this is a time where people want to support the studio, but this is also a time where a lot of people can't monetarily justify
Sure.
consistently spending money every month for a new
Mhm,
cosmetic set.
mhm.
And the idea behind earning some of that to get a quote unquote discount because you're earning part of the set uh, in game is a nice way to push people to the Emporium and not force them to have to consistently buy the new sets.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know in I don't know how Rare balances this, where they are still able to earn enough money off of the game to justify development for it, and if the money earned in game is justifying development for Sea of Thieves, or if part of that's being pushed out to the development for Everwild. Like I don't know, is Microsoft fully producing Everwild,
Mm,
and all of that cost is not factored into development and upkeep for Sea of Thieves? I don't know the numbers on that, but
right.
At what point does the Emporium purchasing drop off to where Sea of Thieves can't function as a game that takes care of its own cost upkeep?
Well, let me
And
tell you something you are. Oh, I'm sorry, I interrupted you again.
no, go ahead.
Let me tell you something you already know, that they feed each other. There is new content in the game, so people come back to the game to see the new content in the Emporium. I'm not saying that is like a money grubbing Uncle Moneybags, Monopoly Man. Sorry, I hit my mic. Monopoly Man, that's what Rare is. I'm saying that's just the natural flow for this game to continue monetarily, in my opinion.
Mhm.
You come back because now there's an Ashen Lord, and look, the Emporium's been refreshed. If the Emporium was just refreshed with no updates, it would make less money. I cannot possibly see how it would make the same amount of money. So I'm not so concerned. Long as there's continue to be updates, which there is, I think it's sustaining. But you and I, of course, we don't know. We don't have access to the finances. We never will. You mentioned how there are like emotes. Let me say this differently. You mentioned how you can get if there's something in the Emporium you want to be really good, and I see a nice variety in the Emporium. I see like a set that is equivalent or comparable to a set you can buy without any accommodations, like the Banjo Kazooie set, even with the collector sales and collector figurehead. And then there's things like the Blighted set that's glowing, and it's more equivalent to some of the higher glowing sets. I think there's the variety in there. And then there's stuff that's exclusive to the Emporium. You can't get emotes anywhere else or pets anywhere else than the Emporium. Aside from a few promotions where, the Summer of Sea of Thieves rewarded some emotes and excuse me, things like that. Generally, you cannot buy them in game. You can only get them in the Emporium. And to run the risk of tying my articulation of the problem with my articulation of the solution, which you shouldn't do. Take them both at independent value. I really love the idea of what's in the Emporium is things that you can only get in the Emporium, categories that you can only get in the Emporium, pets, emotes, yada yada yada. And what you can earn in the game are their own categories. Like, you can only get ship sets in the game for gold, and you can only get pets in the Emporium for doubloons. We're too late for that, though. They've already mixed the waters, and so now we have this drudgery around where we're all mixed together. And like you were talking about with completionists. Oh boy, this happens every game this happened with Heroes of the Storm, where I tried to earn it, and then Heroes of the Storm 2.0 came out, and there were so many cosmetics. I just knew I can't be a completionist with this anymore. I certainly can't earn it, and I'm not going to buy it. I remember my first ever experience. I was a young, just married man of 20, and foolishly, my first interaction with in-game purchases, microtransactions, was Team Fortress 2. Great game. I must have spent. I think I spent. Been a while since I actually looked at this number. $1,000 on crates and keys because it was like gambling. And we don't need to have this whole conversation about gambling. You can determine that for yourself, and plenty of people spoken to that. But my point is here, because I was a completionist, I'm like, I want to get every item here, so I'm going to keep buying these sets. And boy, to put a button on that tangent before I go too far, I remember having going to my wife and be like, I'm sorry, I spent $1,000. I felt like an addict gambler, like I just spent $1,000 at the casino and I lost it all. Here I have things to show for it, but they're all virtual dumb items that I don't play Team Fortress 2 anymore. It doesn't matter. So when I've long learned the lesson of when the in-game store comes to a game, the completionist does not continue into the store. I don't need to get every emote. I've met people in the Sea of Thieves who are like, hey, I have everything. I spent $500 on eBay to get the controller so I could have the ferryman set. I didn't even want the controller. I just needed to have the set. I don't even wear the set, but I just need to have everything. And they're also purchasing everything on the Emporium. I've set a barrier. I don't go that far. I can't completionist onto the Emporium. And plus emotes things. I don't know how it's like with titles. Do you see a lot of emotes? I see some. I don't see people doing 30 emotes in a game. There's a lot of emotes you can buy. But regardless of that, I think there is plenty of variety. I've lost the thread. This is This is why I need editing in my own podcast because I've lost the thread of my own thoughts.
Well,
Uh,
do
Go
you
ahead.
kind of touching on the idea of value in the Emporium? Do you think, because I've definitely noticed that the quality of the sets, the more lavish sets, have definitely come with experience. Whoever's developing the cosmetics for the Emporium, they've definitely learned from what they can and can't do and what they
Mhm.
can build into the set. So when we look at
Yes,
the
yes.
Joanna Dark one, that is not a good set. That is a very bland,
Mhm.
boring cosmetic
Sure.
set. But you look at the Conquer's Bad Fur Day, and it's lavish, it's
Mhm.
colorful, it has a lot of flavor to it.
Sure.
And I guess the
Yeah.
biggest question here is why aren't we getting more sets in the game? To kind
I've
of
never seen I'm sorry, guys. We're doing this over Discord, so there's I keep interrupting. I apologize so hard.
no, you're
You've
good.
just cut to the heart of the matter with the scalpel. It's look how far they've come on these sets. We see it with like old sets don't even color the inside of the hull or even like the mast, and newer sets do. Uh, why do we see all this the stuff they learned? They're able to make such awesome sets, and we're only really seeing them, or we're seeing the larger amount of them in the Emporium, and we're getting so few into the game. And what are we getting? We're getting a lot of recolors. We get new ones. Accommodations give us new things, and there's some new sets like the rose set's beautiful in the that we get in the black market. But a lot of the black market's recolors. That feels like next to no effort. We've known for a long time because of data mining that they've had recolors in the game for like 2 years since Shrouded Spoils. I think it got data mined, and some of that stuff only recently got set out. And we're like, "Whoa, what has been so long?" You really feel like we're getting the dregs, the no effort for our gold for actually playing the game. What do you get? What do you get for playing the game? You get gold. What do we spend it on? The recolors that you built 2 years ago, but all the cool new stuff you're making with awesome modeling and you're great employees. You have this great talent. We have to pay real money for it. Feels like a real kick in the gut. It does not feel great. I think maybe you really cut. I think you articulated better than anyone else I've heard talk about this subject. I think everyone's going to rally behind what you just said about that is the difference. We feel like there's no effort in the stuff we can get with the gold we earn. We feel like all the effort has gone into the stuff that we have to shell out money for, and that kind of hurts.
Yeah, it's a topic that I think a lot of people are really coming around to, and I'm hoping that this will change sooner rather than later. There's there's a huge problem that I see with the way that Sea of Thieves has decided to do their cosmetic system. They decided going against a color dye system in the fashion of hair for their cosmetics for pirates and for ships. And I really feel like that was the decision, the design decision that really impacted how we get cosmetics because it's no longer about um, the cosmetics that we get and what they look like because at this point they're saving the color swaps purely for the filler content
Hmm.
through the black market.
You
And
cut to the heart again. Filler. That's the perfect word for it. Feels like filler. Continue.
yeah,
Sorry, which is so good. Filler.
um and I feel like if we were playing in a system where you could pick the color of your cosmetics at any given time, similar to your underwear or similar to your hair, then the black market would be empty. And a lot of the content that would be in there would be the content that's in the Emporium. So they're deliberately making the decision not to implement a dye system for the current clothing cosmetics that we
Mm-hmm.
have because they need the content for the black market. And I think the
Hmm.
rub here is exactly what you stated that people are not finding the value in playing the game for what they're able to purchase. Nobody wants to purchase the recolors of stuff because they have the colors that were the meaningful earned colors for the
Yeah.
content that came out in the first year. Ahoy there, pirates. Just wanted to let you guys know about something that's going on with Keelhauled Podcast. I am kicking up a Patreon. This is going to be my first dive into this type of a program. I don't do it for any other stuff that I do. But because I'm making content for you, I'm hoping that there's a chance that you might consider supporting me. I've got it started out at the lowest entry, which is a sailor where you'll get ad-free content, the podcast, and remove any of the ads out of it, so you won't have to worry about that. That starts at $3 a month. Other tiers include the Crow's Nest at $5, where you'll get the ad-free content, and I'll call you out on the show. There's even a Captain and a Gold Hoarder tier that have additional benefits to the Discord community, as well as the Patreon with the ad-free content. Other than that, I wanted to let you guys know about one of our sponsors that's actually Green Man Gaming. Through the affiliate link in the show notes, you can actually head over to there like you normally would to pick up any kind of content that you would for stream or for Steam content. You can also pick it up for like the Rockstar, like Rockstar content right now is on sale for 40% off on most games, up to 75%. Private Division's having a sale for up to 56%. So if you like Outer Worlds, it's a good way to pick up the Epic version of the game for cheaper than what Epic is going to sell it. So head over to the show notes for the affiliate link. Head over to the show notes for the Patreon link. And if you don't want to hear ads and you want to support me, that's a great way to do it. If not, hopefully this helps you guys out with some ways to save some money on games.
Let's not confuse anything here. There are recolors that are great. I was not around to earn the Bone Crusher set. I was able to get it now because of recolor. I'm very happy about that. I, along with a lot of people, are like, we need the Wailing Barnacle recolor. It's going to look so cool because the base that you're going to be recoloring is just really cool. We want these things. Things are going to be great. I think a lot of this will change with amount of stuff we're getting. When so much comes to the Emporium and so little comes to the game, that's where it really hurts. If they just bridged that gap and had more stuff, maybe they have to take two. Again, I'm mixing my argument with my solution. If they take 2 months, say, or longer for each update, that way they can work on and put more stuff in the game at the trading post or the black market or wherever they put it. At this equal amount that they put in the Emporium each update, that would feel a lot better. That would solve, I think, some of my problems with it. Putting and still having the recolors, because I do like a lot of the recolors and I'm happy to get them. We just need you to show that you care enough by putting similar amount. And I don't even want like the commendation stuff to go away. I like that there are cosmetics that you can earn through commendations. I think we all like that. Some of my new favorite sales to go with my Ghost ship set are those Ghost Captain sales that you earn from turning in 50 Ghost Captain skulls. I'm very happy I earned that, and I use it all the time now. Love it. Glad it's there. Please keep putting those in. They're great to earn and show off. And I'm happy with all the stuff in the Emporium is really cool. We just also need more content to spend our gold in at the same time. If they did that, I would have no complaints.
I think the big difference in to speak to what you're talking about with enjoying the recolors, I think that's where I have the dissonance between what we have and what we're getting. We could have the color dye system, which would give us the ability to have cool recolors, and it would revitalize the unique look between pirates who are running out there. You know, if you don't have the recolor, then you just have the base set, and everyone has the base set at the beginning of a console or a content launch. It would make sense in my mind that if you give people the ability to change the color of the set that they have, that'll take care of two things. One, having to have unique slots in the black market specifically for the new content. You know, you could do away with all of that by just having new dyes introduced into the game and just have a system based around the cosmetics being affected by the dye. And instead of buying new cosmetics, you're just buying new dye sets that could apply to all cosmetics, and you could have some fun stuff with that. It also drives innovation because right now, like mentioned earlier, the stuff that we're getting in the black market, the recolor stuff, feels like filler content. And if you are trying to incentivize people to play the game who can't afford to buy the cool stuff in the Pirate Emporium, then not having filler content in there is going to push Rare to actually develop unique stuff, unique cosmetic sets like the Rose set. And that's going to drive engagement more, in my mind, than just having recolors and having the good stuff in the Emporium. What did you think?
I have an opportunity here to no longer knock down straw men. Now I can argue with you in person and really get kicked out of this podcast. No one's going to hear this. You're going to delete it all. Uh, I think having a dye, and again, we're talking about solutions to take it separate from articulations of the problems. Having like just dye clothing, it's not as easy as like the underclothing where it's they can practically just take a scale, a color scale, and change the underwear. To change, say, the crab set from the recolor that's in the Emporium. I forget the name of that crab set, and then the regular crab set. It's more than just they shifted it red. There's like three different color tones, and they changed the three different ones to be three completely different things. If you're having Rare put in this like color scale dye system, it's not easy. It's a lot of work, and I think I'm happier to have the hand touched. We've picked these three colors because that makes this set look really cool. Or we see things different, like some things are like really, really different. We see the sword of the Inky Kraken Inky Kraken set is completely different than the sword of the Kraken set. It's not just different colors. It's got like a different texture on it. I actually kind of like the way they've introduced recolors, uh, implemented recolors, like the insider set clothing and different things like that. It's just a recolor of the Black Flag and the Aristocrat. But I'm doing insiders because I really love that set. I think it looks great, and I'm happy that they took the time to like, we're going to do purple and white. We're just not going to shift it from black, and now it's all red.
So I'll push back on that because I totally understand where you're coming from, where you like to have that curated approach to
Curated, that's the word.
to the recolors. And I want to say, like, part of this game is the cosmetics and the ingenuity between mixing up the different sets that you have, the different parts of cosmetics, whether it be liveries or clothing or hair or curses, and seeing the uniqueness. At the very beginning of the game, Rare introduced their IPG, their Infinite Pirate Generator, and the concept of being able to have any multitude of type of pirate on the seas, any combination of thick, thin, tall, short, scraggly, one-eyed, no teeth, old, young, and give players a random roll on that to be able to let them find their perfect combination of attributes and to lock those in to pick what their pirate's going to look like. They've gone against that mentality with the recolored system. They're saying, no, this is how we want the set to look like. And if you don't like this, then you can wait for this particular recolor set. Whereas a die system would bring in some of that creativity that you can only find with a large base of players having tools, not rules, to their color system, to their choices as what they want their pirate to look like.
It seems that we've gone back to the argument of intention. I mean, it's been what, 2.5
True.
years. Things can change. They can have philosophies can change. Maybe they wanted that every pirate looks different because we've got this random system. But if you're even with talking about intended, yeah, but everyone could. The Black Dog set looks the same on everybody. It's all the Black Dog set. I don't think anything's changed, the philosophy wise. But I think we're arguing over small potatoes right now. We're arguing over the implementation of the color system and how they do the recolors. I think where our common ground is that we got to have more content. Respect us enough to put more content into the game that we can earn by playing the game, as opposed to just throwing money at the game, because we will feel more respected, and it feels a lot less scummy. And Rare's bought a lot of goodwill, and I don't know about you, but I give them benefit of that, and I don't want to believe that they're scummy corporate overlords, that they care about their game and stuff. And it's harder to continue to believe that when we keep seeing being drip fed these earnable rewards. Something that's not brought up a lot here, and when it's brought up, I see people sort of get shouted down. And this is a thing that you already know because you've heard it in other things, is that there are people, I'm not telling you anything you haven't heard before. There's people who have more money than time, and people who have more time than money. Some guy who's not going to be a completionist like you and me and spend an inordinate amount of time because he doesn't have a podcast, so he can't put that much time into a single game, would just rather spend the $20 a year from putting his time at work or however much money and get the cool set instead of having to turn in 50 skeleton skulls, which, by the way, takes a lot of time. It's a grindy game. Boy, I can't. Their philosophy, super quick tangent. Their philosophy here of having combinations be so large, like, hey, we were 240 wins in arena. You're right, it is too much. Let's bring it down to 100. No, 240 is better. We're bumping it back up to 240. You know that turning 50 fish in for the Legend of the Deep or whatever it's called was a mistake. That was meant to be 500. Someone put in 50, and now it's too late. Boy, they really want to spend a lot of time in this game, and you cannot take away that a lot of people just have more money than time, and they would rather just buy a cool thing than have to spend so much time sinking 50 ghost fleets to get a single sale.
So at the end of the day, it feels like what we're asking from Rare is exactly what you said. Respect us to be able to make the decision on what we want and give us options in both spectrums. Let us be able to buy cool cosmetics from the Pirate Emporium, but don't neglect adventure because you want people to get driven to the Pirate Emporium, and I guess that comes down to, at this point, I have to say it has to come down to money. And as much as I love Rare, I can only spend so much, and I'm kind of hoping that soon, and who knows, this could all change in the next 2-3 months. So we've been talking about it here. This is a conversation that's been going on in other places that I can't talk about for a while. And Rare has consistently done the one thing that I think both of us can agree to is try to keep an ear to the community and hear our feedback, vocal or not, and try to do things to help try and make sure that we're constantly content, I guess would be a good way. Not obviously not everyone can be, but
No, sure.
they try to appeal to the mass market and make sure. I mean, obviously the last 6 months of patch notes have had some addressment of the hit registration bugs that have been going on with the game. But I mean, let's be honest, that's been something that's been going on since day one. So
it's just good gameplay design. You earn gold in a MMO because you have things to spend it on. You earn different resources because you can use them for a purpose to build armor or whatever the thing is for. Here we earn gold for what reason? If you bought everything, there is no reason. There is never in an MMO. There's no more reason to spend gold. You may have more gold than you ever need to worry about getting more, but you're still spending it. And a game like freaking Diablo. I've only talked about Blizzard games here, guys. I do play other games. I played Halo. Now, it gives you a lot of money. Right now, like, guys, recall back what Logan said earlier when he joined his friend to turn in. He said, I didn't need the gold. Why does he still play the game? Oh, I still need to kill the Ashen Lord 20 times, turn in 20 skulls to get this commendation. The gameplay loop is fun, and he's still doing certain things because they are earning him progress towards something, a reward for his action that he can actually use. He's not going out doing Ashen Athenas anymore because there is no reward for him to get that. But he is still, I don't know, say sinking ghost ships. You can correct me if you're not. Or doing whatever for working towards accommodations you don't have yet because you unlock sales or something with that. So that's great, and that's why we come back. But I didn't play much of this update because the only thing you get was those sales, and I wasn't interested in those 2 sales, so I just didn't play much of this update. I played a lot of last update because I really wanted those sales. If I just still needed to, if there were still things to spend my money on, darn tootin', I would have played this update to get more gold, and I would have done any number of things, not just the thing for this most recent update to get the most recent commendation. I would have done whatever happened to get more gold to spend it. That's just good gameplay design. Right now, they're floating off of, there's a new thing each month which will keep our attention span, and you can earn something for it. that loop won't go on forever. You got to really embrace the fullness of your game loop and give us something as a reward for doing anything in your game to getting the goal.
Yeah.
Hey, you've talked about, by the way, the black market and how strange it is that stuff's there instead of the regular stores. Were you as annoyed as I was when Lorena came in and was like, "Yeah, I kicked Duke out because what's this?" He was like becoming just another shop. Isn't that ridiculous? By the way, the black market's still here and we're still going to come out with new stuff. What?
Yeah. Yeah, that is
That would have been the perfect time. It makes no sense. Lorena seemed cool to me. She was like, "Yeah, I don't need to be a pirate legend." When she said that, I was like, "Yeah, I should never become pirate legend. That is cool. I don't need you and your pirate legend stuff. You can keep it. Ha, so good for you." That's not why I'm doing this. I'm like, "Oh, that's epic." And then she totally went downhill for me when she was that hypocritical of, "I kicked him out because he had a store. By the way, I still have the store."
Yeah. And I think that's I'll be honest, I think that that's going to be something that really needs to get addressed soon because as much as I appreciate the function that Duke the Dark Lord and Lorena pose, it's a place right at the beginning of the spawn where you can find out exactly what's going on with the new content. I really had a problem with the fact that she's like, "Yeah, I didn't approve of how Duke was running a store on the backside and working with the companies to try and get content and whatnot." And then she still has the
Mhm.
shop, and I'm like,
Mhm.
why does she have the shop if that's why Duke's
Mhm.
gone?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that this is kind of that in between awkward phase of trying to grow your hair out where it's like, yeah, it's kind of ugly, but I have to because this is how I get
I see.
nice
It's
long
transitionary.
hair. And I'm hoping that we'll get to a point where we have things like I've talked about it in the past where I want like a bulletin board where people go to pick up voyages for the current event. And I want the
Sure.
tavern keep to be the point of interaction where she calls you over to tell you what she
Well,
overheard.
don't
in
worry,
the-
Logan. They've added mysterious notes in this new update. By the way, patch notes. It's not working. It'll be introduced next update.
I think they're refreshing it. If
What
I
does that mean? You cannot just say we've released something. By the way, we're not releasing it until next update. You didn't release it. It's not there.
it's hard to have a release date for or a delay for an unreleased game.
I really liked your guys' idea. I forget which guest you had on, but you floated by the idea of Duke becoming like a really high end late game store, kind of like I think Athena is, like
Mhm.
$500,000 to buy one piece of the ship set. I like that idea. I mean, since you already have Athena, why not have it down there? But I could see how, well, if it's going to be other things that are not Athena, make it another store. I think that's a really great idea, though I still think the solution is just normal stuff, just lots and lots of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it was an interesting prospect by Falcor, and I disagreed with him on the premise that I want Duke the Dark Lord to be an endgame boss, not a vendor. So we'll have to see who wins in that argument.
Listen,
Um,
our solution is just make more. Just do what you're doing, but more of it faster. Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
My name is Mr. Entitlement.
Right?
My friend will kick me in the pants if I don't mention this. In the Emporium, you can buy a high emote for free, but there are other high emotes that are not for free. And he's like, "I'm a very big character. I would rather lie down, but I have to pay money for the lie down hide emote. That don't feel so good." So if we're talking about purely cosmetic stuff, that's one thing. It's kind of not purely cosmetic.
Well, that comes back to the idea of intent, right? Like, did Rare, if they gave us the free hide emote, their intention was to promote hiding. They liked the concept, they liked the idea of being able to tuck on ships, but then they're gating it with the Emporium emotes that may function better for that. So, do they want us to do that, or do they want us to do that to the point where we have to spend money on it?
Mhm.
Are they actually supporting it, or are they just putting it behind a paywall because they know it's popular right now?
Mhm.
But that's my tinfoil hat thought of the night. There was one
Well, the
other
truth is,
topic.
they put it there just to draw eyes to the black. They could have just added to everyone's account, but they want you to go to the Emporium to so you have to scroll by other things. It's the reason people put stuff in the windows of their stores.
True.
And I don't feel bad about it. I mean, that's just a business tactic. I'm not mad at them for it.
And if that's
But
the case, I still question why they don't have all of the previous charity sales in the Emporium when they have a new charity sale up for purchase.
I'll tell you the answer for that. Legal.
Legal?
It's got to be legal stuff. There's got to be so much red tape for doing charity stuff that doing it all year makes it tough.
That's fair.
It can't be as easy as just pressing a button.
I mean, it could be. Whether that's legal, that's what you're getting to. But they could easily hit that button. They just don't want to deal with the legal ramifications in this instance. Yeah, no, I know. It kills me every time. I like someone sees the Valiant Dawn sales and they're like, "Cool, what are those?" And they're like, "Oh, they were a charity sale that we had going on earlier this year." And they're like, "Oh, sweet, I'm gonna go buy those." Yeah, about that.
Are you saying, Logan, that it sucks to see somebody have, I don't know, I'll just call it a limited time cosmetic and you not being able to get it yourself?
No, because I have all the limited time cosmetics.
All right, well, that just skips 1/3 of my notes here. We'll just move on to, I guess, the outro.
No, you did have one. You did have one more topic that you wanted to dive into. So, what was the other one that you wanted to jump in?
Limited time cosmetics. We can't talk about hotly debated topics in the Sea of Thieves community and not mention limited time cosmetics. Stuff that came out when you weren't playing or when you were playing but you didn't earn it quick enough before the update was over, and you can't have it anymore. This one I have a little bit less sympathy for than the other stuff we've talked about, because are you really going to side in current year? Are you really going to side with the 1% haves against the 99% have-nots? Is that really where you're going to stake your flag? Oh, I'm part of the 1% that have the thing, but I don't want the 99% to have the thing too. I want to keep it all to myself. I'm probably not going to side with that guy.
Well, it's a point of pride. It's a point of value for and my thoughts aside, this is just me posing the opposition here. I definitely see the pride in having my day one patch, in having my launch crew Eye of Reach, and those are two things that I think are probably the most valued in my collection, because it proves that anyone can buy a pre-order code if there's one out there, but only I was able to earn the day one eye patch and get the launch crew Eye of Reach, because I saw the potential in the game. I saw the allure, I saw the draw, and I was there from day one, prior to day one, and wanted to support the game. And my point of pride, which is, let's be honest, pride, it is a sin that I feel this way, to flaunt that in front of other people who don't have that. And that is a purely greed intent for me to want to walk around with those items and be like, yeah, I got these, you can't have them. I'm proud of my devotion to this game since day one, and I find the value in that because it makes me feel good about the decisions I made when the game first came out.
Boy, I wish I felt good about the decisions I've made. What's that like?
It's full of resentment and a lot of self-deprecation in the mirror.
Okay, so not so different.
No. And I got to be honest, it really does come down to the fact that it's an issue of pride. It's an issue of greed. We want to feel like we are making the right decision at the time, that we worked hard to get it, and that there's a reason why we should have these and other people shouldn't, because it's a situation where, if given the decision, would you have done the same thing in my shoes? And if so, how would you feel now if someone tried to take that away from you or make it less special?
Well, I would argue that it doesn't make it less special. Oh, was having 2.5 years of exclusivity not special enough for you? He doesn't retroactively take that away to let somebody else experience it now. Also, don't you run into people who have it? Do you hate it when you, do you have the day one eye patch? Oh, I'm taking mine off.
No, it's actually a sense of camaraderie because I recognize their OG-ness, and I think to myself, I see you, sir. You have that brave vanguard.
I
Kudos.
see you also have the monocle of the 1%. Very good.
Yes.
I'm being facetious, by the way. I don't
Yeah.
really don't think you're like a horrible 1%er. And also, I think your day one eye patch is wildly different from, say, the Wailing Barnacle Hall. One is I was there at the very start, and one was I just happened to be there in October or November, whenever it was.
It's an interesting slippery slope to dive into because if you say that some time limited cosmetics for content releases are made available again, honestly, I have a specific way that my pirate looks. He's looked that way for quite a long time, and I haven't really changed him, even though I've gone out to purchase the new cosmetics. I'll wear them for a little bit, but generally I'll go back to what I usually wear.
We're destroying our own argument. We want more in-game cosmetics. I will, however, wear the same thing I've worn for 2 years.
It's very true. It's tough because you want to have your cake and eat it too. And at the end of the day, when it comes to limited time cosmetics, you're right. When I see another person with a day one eye patch or a launch crew eye of reach, I don't get flustered about that. And that's been my perspective since the game came out. If other people have the same, like, I'm used to content drops where everyone wears the same thing because it's the new hotness. And that's the much interesting, more Wailing Barnacle set that everyone has at the moment. And then eventually people will change what they look like until they find what they're comfortable with. As far as cosmetics coming back that were previously time limited, if they implemented it in a way that brought back the actual content event, like the ability to earn them again by completing the same event that was originally out at the time of launch, a way to try and revitalize the ceremony, the zeitgeist that happened around that event, I would totally be okay with all of the. I'm okay with the cosmetics coming back regardless, but I would love for them to take the opportunity to develop around them coming back by celebrating the original event that introduced them.
You've heard me say a couple times to separate the argument with the solution, because the solution can be bad, but the argument can still be sound. We're doing this reverse now, where I'm going to give my solution before I really dive deep into the argument. It's really interesting to hear you say that, because I had thought, and I wanted to hear your take on this because I wasn't there for a lot of the updates, so I don't know how viable this is. But I thought it'd be cool to have like Tall Tales implemented using the Tall Tale system for old updates. There's the Hungering Deep Tall Tale, and the reward for doing it is, I forget what, the drum and the trumpet and maybe a tattoo set. I think there was, maybe there were scars. I don't particularly remember. How do you feel about that solution, making part of the Tall Tale? And the bigger question is, can that be done with more than that update, or is that really like the only update that had any story?
The Hungering Deep could be done feasibly as a Tall Tale. You would have to rework it because Merrick is no longer on what is now Reaper's Hideout, or over at Sharkbait Cove, where he was residing to initiate the fight. Him being over at Steven Spoils would actually make the Tall Tale a little bit easier, but it would definitely be a little heavier because it's originally happened in the Ancient Isles, which means that everything would happen in the Ancient Isles, very similar to how most people do the first Tall Tale, as well as the Cursed Rogue and a couple other ones. And I kind of hate that the Ancient Isles is like the go-to to start out most of the Tall Tales. The Cursed Sails one, I really miss that one because it was a special time in the game where all of the outposts had changed. We had just, as a result of the skeletons invading the outposts, they put up their challenge, and there were times that you had to go out and actually fight these skeleton fleets. Since then, they've moved the fleets to the interior of the seas and
Yeah.
have drastically changed those encounters altogether. But I I don't know how, un, unless they change the way that the engineering of the servers work, where you would be able to have fleets up at the same time as another event, it would be tough to figure out how they could make the Tall Tales an
Okay.
event in the world that. And the same thing with megalodons aside, because those can exist during an event as well too.
Sure.
Um, Skeleton fleets would have to be something that could be initiated by people through the tall tale. So those would have to probably be taken out of the rotation of world events, which would extremely hinder some of the cosmetics that have come as a result of the skeleton fleets being a persistent world event. Say like Athena's Fortune being able to sink 500 ships to earn the cannons. Um, so that would be a tough thing because they would have to either remain a world event and a tall tale, or be a tall tale and people would have to spawn the tall tale to be able to fight the skeleton fleets. I don't
Hmm.
think that there's a bad solution in either of those two options. Obviously, with ghost fleets, we have Flameheart still out and about as ghost fleets
That's a
that you
good
can
point.
encounter, and you can summon ghost fleets as an Order of Souls Voyage. So
Right.
the precedent is set. It's just a way of building a tall tale around that. And to get to your question, if they did something like the Tall Tales for special events for like the Hungering Deep and for the Cursed Sails and for the Forsaken Shores, I think that would be a great way to try and introduce not only what was experienced at the time, but also the lore that was crafted during those events. No one goes to Wanda's hideout anymore or finds Wanda's journals for the sake of you know trying to do it because they think it'll be cool to check it out. But if there was a tall tale that was crafted around
Hmm.
those elements in the world, same thing with the Bilge Rat adventures that are defunct. Having the skeleton thrones as part of the Summer of Sea of Thieves thing to try and draw attention to the fact that those elements are still in the game for some reason.
Hmm.
Um, Building out the tall tale system to reinvigorate those past content drops, I think would be a great way to reintroduce the cosmetics that were previously time limited. Because time limited was just an engagement driver. It wasn't a privilege. It was just a reason to get people to play the game.
I would love to experience those events, and so to have any way to do that, cosmetics be darned, would be fun. I would love to have those experiences. But we've introduced. Oh, go ahead.
No, no, go ahead. I wasn't going to say
We've
anything before.
introduced the solution before we really gotten too far into what we see as the problem, or what some people see as the problem. And what I'm surprised I haven't heard you say yet is something I hear a lot, which is when people talk about people getting, oh, well, now everyone's going to run around with Merrick's trumpet. And they say, well, when I look at this trumpet, people see this trumpet, they go, hey, where'd you get that? And I could tell them a story about how whatever happened. And another straw man Caleb's about to beat up. I've never seen that actually happen. Whenever somebody's like, "Oh, where'd you get that trumpet?" You go, "Oh, I got it from doing a thing, near the launch of the game." People go, "Oh, so where can I get it?" "Oh, you can't." Oh, that's the end of the conversation I've ever seen. Anecdotal, to be sure, but I don't know how much it's. People are really like, "Ooh, tell me the story about how you got the glowing cutlass." And also, what story are you telling? I happen to have logged on this date so I could buy it from Duke with doubloons I earned by doing accommodations, which, by the way, you can do right now. What a thrilling tale!
Yeah, I it's I don't run into that too much. I don't think I've ever told the tale of how I got the Hungering Deep stuff. It was personal. It affected me and a small number of people that I played with in the experience that I had as similar to the experience other people had. It meant be a lot to me because of the people that I sailed with at the time.
And guess
Many
what?
of
Me also getting the trumpet doesn't take that away from you. You get to still hold on to that experience and fun that you had.
True, and that's generally my argument to other people when we talk about these things. So it's hard for me to argue against it because I feel the same way. It's one of those things where if I had something that was unique to how I got it, if I got it when it was time limited, but then it was reintroduced in the game through a tall tale, I would love the opportunity, and maybe this is just the community builder perspective that I have in my mind, where I value people in engaging with the game to ensure that the game is staying healthy. I would love to be able to tell people like, "Hey, if you think this is cool, you can get it, but you have to go do this tall tale. If
Mm,
you want this title, you're gonna have to go do the main voyage, or if you want to find out more about how to get the glowy lightsaber, you're gonna have to go do Seabound Soul." Those are in the game, and they're no different than other time limited content. The only difference is that some people did it at the time and some people can do it now. But
mm,
at the time, it was time limited because only a certain number of people had actually done it. And that mentality behind being able to get it and being able to not get it is such a it's tough because I feel like it's a weak argument in my mind because I don't value the reason why, or I don't value when I got things. I value how I got things with the people that I got them.
mhm,
And
mhm.
it doesn't hearing someone else's take on it is it's I'm trying to think of a good analogy. It's essentially how I'm going to play Cyberpunk or how I play Breath of the Wild. How I
Oh,
played Breath of the Wild is vastly different to how people that I was talking to at the time played Breath of the Wild in most aspects. But it's a unique experience even though we all played the same game. And
sure.
I feel Cyberpunk will be the same way, and I feel like Sea of Thieves is the same way. Everyone's going out, they're dropping a voyage, or they're getting on a ship and they're sailing around, and they shoot cannons and they kill skeletons and they shoot monsters. And at the end of the day, we turn in our goal, or we turn in our loot and get rewards for it. Everyone does that, and the only difference is the conversations that were had along the way.
Mm,
And I feel the same way about cosmetics. The conversations behind the time limited cosmetics are just different from the conversations that are being had from the non time limited cosmetics that can still be earned. And I hope that people have those conversations when they earn those cosmetics, time
mm,
limited or not.
we can't ignore that it's the law of the land. It's the practice. Many games. The was maybe now the second or third most popular game, but it was the most popular game for a very long time. Fortnite has, if you didn't earn this thing in season, then you don't have it anymore. And only if you see somebody wearing the Black Knight outfit, oh, they played in season one and got to the final tier and unlocked it. This isn't an uncommon practice. So maybe I don't know if I want to call us minorities, but we're certainly that's on the side of that's on the other side of our argument here. By the way, small anecdote: I just recently played another playthrough of Breath of the Wild, and this time I was like, I'm doing a one death run, and I'm not going to use teleports because when I first played the game, I'm like, oh, I'm getting real Princess Mononoke vibes in here. I'm going to grab an elk. I'm gonna you know uh, walk into villages, really explore, really role play like I wanted to do with Sea of Thieves. And then just like with Sea of Thieves, I'm like, I'm a completionist though. I found myself like, okay, but if I do this next, I'll get Mifa's Grace, and then I know where I can upgrade this outfit. Oh, nope, I ruined it for myself again. There, I did it again. But it was fun to play it that way. I wish I had played it that way the first time. Um, do you remember earlier this year on the 2-year anniversary? They had, like, I think it was once a month they let you do some things to earn a limited time cosmetic. I think it was the drum, um, a sail from the skeleton ship set, I think,
Mhm.
and the glowing saber. I don't know if there was another one. Uh, what do you think about that method of reintroducing limited time cosmetics? I know they got a lot of blowback from it. I wonder if it was enough that they wouldn't do it again. I would, if that's the way that we got old limited time cosmetics back. Yeah, you get them. People who were there, they got all of them at that time, and they've had it for years, and they'll continue to have it. You, since you weren't there, you're only going to get one a year. It's going to take you a lot longer. That way, you still have that value and that worth of having been there originally, but people who weren't there could still have a method of earn it, even though it's spread over years.
I don't like it.
Hmm.
And not for the reasons that people are getting cosmetics that were previously time limited. I dislike it because it didn't feel like the full experience. It didn't feel like the
Ah.
same feelings that I felt when I first did those events. And when they brought back those commemorative weeks where they kind of recognized that these were past events, I was hopeful that we would be doing something akin to what we did originally during those events because it was
Mm.
exciting, it was fresh, it was unique. And while we can't necessarily replicate that in the same fashion, we can have a semblance that's close enough to justify the reintroduction of all of the cosmetics for those time limited events. To me, it's no different than having classic WoW and vanilla WoW. I will never forget how I felt playing vanilla WoW, and diving into classic felt so familiar that it sated my desire to be in a time when I recall trying to figure out how to play an MMO for the first time back in 2004. And I got my fill of it and it was enough, and I went back to retail and continued playing how I normally play. But
Mhm.
with Sea of Thieves having the weekly anniversaries of the original content drops, it wasn't widely advertised. It wasn't displayed in game. It was all done
Sure.
through the website. So not many players actually found out
Mhm.
about it. And if they did get something for it, it was kind of like a, wait, what did I do to get that? That's weird. How come this happened? And
Mm.
it wasn't like an actual celebration of the event. So if
Yeah,
they were
stuff
to
you would
do
have done
this,
anyway. Oh, I killed a megalodon. I would have done that anyway.
yeah, if they were to do something like this, I would prefer it if they actually leaned heavy into it, decided to replicate these in a fashion that really kind of celebrated the original roadmap, the thing that they never want to speak about again, and gave us a reason to say like, hey, I have met a lot of great pirates on the seas that have come to the game later than the first year, and I want them to have the experience with me of going out and summoning the hungering one and defeating the hungering one and having it be a real fight, having it to be a multi-crew fight,
Mm.
unless you're Beardageddon, and being able to capitalize on that nostalgia for the first year
Sure.
and giving other people a sense of it. Like anecdotally, Destiny 2 right now is having the Halloween event. And just recently they had the honoring event. And these are events that have been in the game for a long time. And most of the people that have been in that game dedicated to it are moaning and groaning about how it's no different, how they're just adding new cosmetics and opening up the past content, and it's boring. And it's meanwhile, I've owned this game since it came out. I've never really dove into it until July, and I am loving these new events because they're new to me, they're
Mhm.
fresh to me, and I get to experience something for the first time. And I get to have the opportunity to have experienced people guide me on what I should and shouldn't do, the things that they've learned. And while they may not necessarily play the event because it's old hat to them, it's fresh enough for me to be excited to be like, oh, wow, this is really cool. I didn't know that this was in this game. I didn't know that this is what went on during Halloween in Destiny 2. It's awesome. Likewise with Sea of Thieves, they try to do some of the year-round events a little bit different than they were in the past so that it's fresh for everyone, but it cuts out some of that joy of going around and figuring out how to do the lanterns and the beacons. Unless you were here in year one for Festival of the Lanterns, understanding why the beacons are out there is a little tough unless you dive into the commendations. So to kind of round it out, um, I don't care if we get time limited cosmetics back in the game somehow, but if they do that, I want it to be a celebration. I don't want it to be uh, just something that they toss into the game for whatever reason.
Man, I find it so interesting that the whole warp and woof of your conversation here has been about the experience, not about the limited time cosmetics. Whereas the things I've said here is really like a us and them, I'm changing no minds. I'm just articulating people who agree with my opinion, and it's not going to change the mind of people who don't agree and have the other opinion. I think what you have said here really is, I think, the compromise that really will connect people and addresses everyone's concerns. The idea of you're not just earning the cosmetics. That's not the root here. The root is you're getting to re-experience it. And if you get to re-experience it, then you have also earned the cosmetics. And maybe I, as somebody who has them, don't feel quite as bad about you having them now because you also earned them in an experiential way as I did. And let me tell you something you already know, to borrow a returning phrase. Don't try, and this is for everyone, don't try to recreate memories. When Vanilla Warcraft, to use your example, came out, it gave you an opportunity to relive some of the glory days, to reconnect with old friends, and forge new memories, do new things. You're not going to have the same experience doing that dungeon as you had before. C.S. Lewis, he had this whole thing about the memory of an experience was part of the experience. And I think that's such an important thing to remember. You can ruin memories by trying to recreate them. Savor them, build new ones. They can be similar. You can still, I like skiing. You can still go skiing. Well, the detriment to you and I here is that Rare seems to agree with the other perspective of keeping limited time cosmetics limited because their way of introducing them back is reskins. Here, you cannot get the orange blunderbuss, glowing blunderbuss, forsaken blunderbuss, I think it's called, again. But you might be able to get the recolor. Strangely enough, though, the only recolor we have seen has been of the Bone Crusher set. And the ship set was not a recolor, it was completely different. I thought that was an interesting decision because I would love to see a recolor of the Wailing Barnacle just because the texture of that would be beautiful, I think, in different colors and different hues. But is it going to be completely different like they did with the Bone Crusher?
Here's where my years of playing the game have failed me because I could have sworn if anyone had asked that they had actually released a recolor of the Wailing Barnacle set, and I am struggling now it is literally a Nelson Mandela effect where I can see it in my head, but you saying it makes me feel like it didn't actually happen. And
I
that's crazy.
It's possible it was part of the data mine. I looked at that data mine and I don't recall seeing a Wailing Barnacle recolor, but maybe it was there and that's where you saw it.
It's possible. It's been since January, I think 2019, since I dove into those data mines. I'm trying to think. I really can't. I really do think I just made that up in my head.
I'm
Um,
certain the only thing we've seen recolor wise of limited time stuff is just the Bone Crusher.
yeah, I'm gonna say you're probably right in that aspect, and kind of trust that you've been paying attention to it more than I have because I just go in and I buy them all and then I never touch them.
Sure.
Uh, totally
I'm the
go.
kind of guy where I don't mix and match, which people do and they look great. I'm just always like, oh, do I have the Athena ship set on? Then I'm going to wear the Athena clothes and I'm going to have all the Athena equipment.
Yeah. Um, I guess at this point, were there any other hotbed topics that you wanted to dive into? How do you feel about, hit registration? Do you feel like skeletons still are too aim body? I mean, trying to think, is there anything else? Should we be able to kill our own crewmates? Honestly, I just want to be able to duel. But was there anything off the top of your head that you wanted to dive into in the last remaining minutes?
Yeah. The most important thing is, and I think we can all come together here, is get rid of the brig and the sloop and put a bed there. I think I say this topic for last. I think it's, the most contentious. No, uh, I do have, and this is something that, if you edit things out, you can edit this out. I'll speak to it, and then if you don't think it should go in, that's fine. Is that
Mhm.
cool?
Yeah.
I have a thought that I just wanted to get out there, and is that Rare has their insider program, and it is under NDA. And I think there are some things that are happening on the insider program that are discussed, say, in those forums that you can see happening in the gameplay and in the patch notes that we can't talk about. That if we could, would be a benefit to our community. One is that it would reveal and I know I'm leading with the thing that's going to make Rare go absolutely not. It would reveal some scummy practices that Rare is doing that we cannot call them out on, because if to call them out, I have to talk about stuff that's under a non-disclosure agreement. So I just can't do it. Uh, to give Rare the olive branch, there are things that people who are not in the insiders program will not get to see a certain perspective, where some things will happen and you'll go, what, this is awful, how could Rare do this? And what you don't see is, well, you're not seeing the perspective. Rare's actually doing something very, very reputable and very honorable here that you're not seeing, because you don't get to see what was going to happen before the feedback and how they actually took our feedback and molded it into something much better. You're not going to see that. You're just going to see this and go, I can't believe Rare is doing this. And we can't go to bat for Rare because it's under an NDA. So I understand that you can't just get rid of the NDA. What's the point of the insiders program? To offer a suggestion, maybe, say the NDA is a month long. So if content that was released a month ago, or 2 months, or 6 months, whatever the time is, some sort of time, a limited time cosmetic, a limited time NDA might fix that problem. But it just sucks that there's just stuff we can't talk about that I think the community sort of deserves to know.
It's really hard for me to dance around this topic,
Mhm.
unfortunately, because of conversations that I had and the people that I respect that I had them with.
Mhm.
I agree with you, um, but I understand the reasonings behind the NDA. I just don't agree with them.
Mm.
And as much as I love the people that I've talked to about this, I really think that I really, really, truly believe that the betterment of the community, the growth that the community could have if some of the discussions in the Insider
Mhm.
um, were available to content creators to be able to discuss
Mhm.
openly with their communities, to let the communities decide better than a handful of dedicated insiders who are very, very particular about their opinions. Not to say that all are bad or good, just to say that they are definitely particular. And the amount of conversation that happens between the development team and the community that's on the forums, um, I feel like I feel like the NDA offers more to what the dev team can do than what it can do than what the community can do.
Mhm.
And it's much more of a reactive situation than a collaboration. And I really hate that, because Rare has many, many times come out and stated that they want to have a conversation with the community about the game,
Mhm.
and they want to make sure that they are addressing concerns. Um,
And getting yelled at's not a conversation.
yeah. And again, I don't want to speak specifically to anything that's going on in the NDA
Mhm. We
forums,
haven't and we won't.
because it's I'm trying to think of a way to talk around this. There are things that I think the community should have input in, and goes back to stressing the importance of playing on Insider, to the point where I have enough golden doubloons and cosmetics in Adventure. And I've been, now bear in mind we're recording this on the 11th of October, so when this comes out, I may have actually made a decision about this, but I don't stream Sea of Thieves quite as much. And part of the reason is because of the bugs that I've been dealing with. It's just frustrating to play Adventure. And the reason why I feel like I've been wanting to stay away from Sea of Thieves on stream is because I'm considering playing specifically on insiders for an indefinite amount of time. And the NDA prevents me from being able to stream any of that content or talk about it. But due to the state of the game, the conditions that we're dealing with, we joked about the bugs in the game earlier. I feel like my time would be better spent on insiders and giving them, at least if anything, passive data on the experiences that I have in the game compared to the reactiveness of what I'm dealing with in adventure.
Wow, not the
Um,
direction I thought you were going. I thought you were going to say you're considering stop playing on insiders. Completely opposite direction I thought you were going to go.
I feel like insiders needs to be where my time should be spent, because if I want this game to be better, I need to be more proactive about it. I need to advocate
Mm,
for the changes that are being implemented in insiders.
sort of being an
And
uplifting force for that particular community.
yeah, and the rub on that is because the biggest rub is that I won't be playing with friends as much because of the amount of time that I get to spend on Sea of Thieves. I just won't be able to really justify spending that in adventure, with a couple exceptions. I feel like I want to spend more time on insiders, even though I know that the gold and the cosmetics, none of that is going to transfer over. It kind of goes back to my acceptance of the Alliance server system where I won't earn any, or private servers where I won't earn any cosmetics. I feel like I've done enough in adventure now where I'm willing to consider, um I don't know if you'd call it retiring, but just stepping back and taking more of an advisory role by playing purely on insiders
Mm.
so that I can try and help build a better game from my perspective compared to just reacting to what we're getting in adventure and all of the pros and cons that come with that. So,
If,
I
if
don't know.
if I can give you my lowly advice, take it or leave it. I would I would always think twice about investing yourself in a lot of time to which you do not receive compensation for. And also, maybe you do it for a time. We talk. You feel a lot in the moment. I've experienced in life where it feels like I just need to make this. I need to change this, and this needs to be different. And you don't think about you're gonna have that same feeling a month from now or X amount of time from now, and then you'll change. And at that point, you'll be like, okay, it was great that I did just insiders for this amount of time, and now I feel like playing back in adventure mode again. It's never has to be a permanent change, and you can really help yourself by not thinking of it that way. My 2
Tr-
cents.
True, and I think that's kind of where I'm leaning to. I think you kind of nailed it. Is I feel like at the moment, given the state of the game and the issues that I see with it, um, I think my time would be better spent helping kind of build up the quality of what we're getting, as opposed to just not playing the adventure as much because I'm frustrated of the issues that I'm running into. So going into it with a different mindset and thinking like, okay, well, if I'm going to play this game, I'm going to play this game to make the game better for everyone else and hope that my involvement with the insider program will make the adventure mode that much more enjoyable so that people are less frustrated with the things that they're running into in the world. So
Mhm.
until a time where we get to, say, Shrouded Spoils quality, where the game is in a really great state, it's stable, there's no bugs, and people can really enjoy just what makes this game so good. I think that's kind of where my mindset is at the moment.
Mm. And if I may say, and you can chime in if you agree. I'm almost certain you will. We're entering into the paradox today where, well, first off, we set ourselves up by talking about hot topic issues, but we also, there's the paradox when you enjoy something, you find yourself talking about the things you don't enjoy about it more because that's a smaller thing to talk about. You can actually talk about that because it's a bite size that you can actually talk about. If I talked about everything I liked about something, it would take forever. But I can talk about the few things I don't like. It's a paradox, well known, and we participate in it today. You wouldn't have a podcast if you didn't love this game. You wouldn't have had me on if I didn't enjoy this game. It's a wonderful game, and it's way easier to sling. Oh, I think it to throw. We can be idea men all day. Ideas cost nothing, and the effort Rare puts in to implement the ideas that they have. I completely respect them, and it's so easy for us to tear down. Not that's exactly what we did, but it's a great game, and much respect to Rare and all the effort they do. Developing is not easy, especially doing it in an honorable way and not partaking in a lot of the stuff that is mired in game development that I haven't seen them really partake in. It's really, they're to be commended. I love this game, and any of the negative things I said about it, I hope you understand it's because I love a million things about this game. And in the future, when I talk about this, I'll have to focus more on the positives. It's a really great game, and I appreciate the guys there at Rare, and I dread having to be them listening to me.
I think a lot of them take it in stride, and with the understanding that they're at the heart of everything that we talk about. The reason why we try to give our ideas or give our feedback is because we know that they're listening, and they wouldn't be the company they are, or we probably wouldn't love this game as much if we didn't understand that going into this conversation. Because it's true. I feel bad about the state of the game at its current state. I want it to be better, and I think that's why I'm considering focusing more on Insider than I am on retail. But that's because I know where this game can be, and I want to continue to love this game, and to do that, I'm going to have to try and put some TNL. Or wait, is that TNL? Is it even the right thing to say?
TLC?
TLC, that's it. I don't know where I came up with TNL. That doesn't even make sense.
Tender and love. Put some real tender love in this sucker.
We're putting tender and love into this. No, yeah, some TLC into
It's gonna be the name of my See It Thieves podcast.
Tender and
Welcome
Love.
to the Tender and Love podcast.
You need to have someone that's actually named Love as your co-host, though, and then you can just be Tender. But yeah, I 100% agree with you. If we didn't love the game as much as we did, we wouldn't want the game to have our feedback about the few pain points that we run into it, and try and build a bigger conversation around the community to try and be okay with the eventual changes that we'll get and how those are going to impact all of us. But Caleb, I'm going to have to say we're going to run out of time, unfortunately, but it was a real pleasure to have you on. I appreciate you hijacking the show, and I congratulate you on being the new host of it. So
what's that? I'm sorry, continue.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, what's that? You don't want to spend more than 2 hours with me? Is that not enough time for you?
I wouldn't have a problem with it, honestly. I just have I have a prior commitment, and I'm running low on coffee.
I'm shocked that you put up with me for this long, guys. I committed the cardinal podcasting sin, which is inviting yourself onto another person's podcast. Well, maybe the cardinal sin is having bad audio quality, but the second cardinal sin of inviting yourself on another guy's podcast. Shout out to Danny DeAngelis for being so kind when he spoke of me, and shout out to you for having me on. It was a real pleasure, and I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me on, man. I really had a great time.
No, me too. I really enjoy it, and we'll have to get together down the road when things come around and we see some changes, and we can maybe readdress some of these issues and laugh about how it was so silly of us to take these in stride and think that they were a major issue in the long run.
Man, I would love that.
Once again, for folks that are into D&D and love having good audio to listen to on their normal commutes and stuff, where can people find your content?
You can go to tblazer.net. That's the letter T for Trailblazers, blazer.net. And there you have links to all our site. You can just search Trailblazers or Trailblazer Academy on any podcatcher, and you'll find our shows. Okay.
Where can people get a hold of you if they want to tell you why you're wrong about all the arguments that you posed today?
tblazernetwork@gmail.com. The email is also on the site. If you can't remember that, the letter T, blazernetwork@gmail.com. And Logan, if I can leave you with one thing, the most important thing to leave here today with is we should start off with more supplies. We do it in Arena. Why can't we do it in Adventure? Come on, Rare. You say you respect my time, but I'm over here starting with one banana, and I don't understand why you can't just give me some coconuts.
I think he really walked away. Rare, you have to save him.
You think I'm over here spending 2.5 years in your game, but I start out with 5 planks? 1 megalodon and I'm sunk. Rare, what are you doing?
And that'll be our show. So thanks all for joining me and Caleb as we dive into the world of Sea of Thieves and supply issues. All right, Pirates, that's going to do it for this episode. As always, I appreciate you guys listening. This means a lot to me, so thank you so much. I know it was a long episode, and if you made it this far, I especially thank you, especially you. I know who you are. And for that, I think that's going to do it. If you want to get a hold of me, you can always reach out to me on Twitter at CAPT_LOGUN. If you want to email me, you can always hit me up at CAPTLOGUN@gmail.com. Feel free to join the Discord server where you can meet the rest of the Keelhauled crew and join in with some of the festivities that are going on during this holiday season. And if you would be so kind, if you like this content and you enjoy it and you want to help support me, I have started that Patreon. The Patreon starts at $3 if you want to get the ad-free content. It also makes sure that if you want to bump up to higher tiers, you can also gain access to private channels, get shout outs on the show, all kinds of fun stuff. And that's always going to be changing, molding to whatever works best for the Patreons, because you're supporting me. I want to make sure you're happy with what you're getting as a result of the support outside of the actual show itself. If you don't want to spend any money, I understand. Money is tight right now, as we discussed in the episode. Feel free to head over to iTunes or Spotify, follow, subscribe, like, share, comment, put a review in, whatever it is that the algorithm wants to make sure that the content gets spread is going to help make sure that this show continues to succeed, to excel, and we can get more and more people in Sea of Thieves. In fact, if maybe you don't believe me, I want to let you know right now, I'm reading an article that PC Gamer just published. There are 10 the best co-op games. I don't even know how many are on this that the PC has to offer. And first one, Phasmophobia. Cool. Second one, Sea of Thieves on Steam. Players 1 through 4. Release date 2018. Rare swashbuckling sandbox. Makes for a decent co-op game, but it really shines as a co-op hangout. Sea of Thieves is one of the most stunningly beautiful open world games, and it can be completely undemanding. Board a ship with your friends, pick a direction, and just sail around drinking grog until you barf, playing musical instruments and firing each other out of cannons. Seriously, this game is great. Everyone seems to recognize that now, and Rare has done an excellent job of ensuring that the content is evergreen and that you have a good time with it. Again, everything we discuss this episode are all topics that everyone talks about, but we wanted to try and have a good discussion. Caleb really had some good thoughts on his head, and he wanted to get those out for all of you. So I want to know what your thoughts are going into the future. Let me know what your feelings are. I'm going to be having some more episodes in the future, hopefully with some devs, hopefully with some news. Who knows? Maybe we might actually get that Sea of Thieves Halloween update. We'll see. Until then, Pirates, thank you. I love you. And I look forward to sailing with you on the Sea of Thieves.
You've been listening to a Robots Radio podcast. Smart shows for interesting people. Check out all the shows at robotsradio.net.
In a world where solid-state electronics and vacuum tubes are still meta, people never stop loving atomic-powered everything. A chosen 500 stepped inside a subterranean vault to be spared the nuclear horror of the inevitable Great War. 25 years later, they emerge after the fallout settles to retake Appalachia. Among them, 2 former rivals whose blood feud will tear West Virginia apart in their epic struggle for survival. Chad, a vault bro who has a strength of 15, an intelligence of 2, and is a complete wasteland dickhead. Simon, a complicated anti-hero who chooses light and hope, but accidentally becomes a cannibal and wakes up naked and afraid with a Scorch Beast queen after a date goes terribly wrong. What? I mean, it's a wild wasteland, right? This dark humor radio drama will have you driving off the road and crawling out from under the fallout. 2 men, 1 wasteland, and so many nukes. Chad, a Fallout 76 podcast, rated R. Now streaming on your holotape player podcasty thing.
Hey Guardians, we are the Destiny Show Podcast, a weekly podcast about all things Destiny 2. We invite amazing guests from the Destiny community to share their stories and discuss the latest topics from the world of Destiny. Check us out on Apple, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, or live on Twitch every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. We will see you Starside.